The Meghan Markle yacht girl claims simply will not go away. And you know I've spoken about this before.
The reason why these pictures are so problematic for Meghan Markle is because these pictures place her with Jeffrey Epstein.
Things about Meghan that we all have some evidence of. I mean, what is she doing on the yacht? Why did David Boies want to question her? Why is she with Karina Shuliak?
Pathetic, not so funny, it's actually tragic. What Harry revealed by that is a complete lack of any self-awareness, of any understanding of reality.
This week described Meghan Markle as previously having been a, quote, yacht girl.
I think it left around about $8,000 behind, which was a tiny fraction of what she expected. And no one could understand who paid for the trip. And she leaked it.
No one in the mainstream media has been brave enough to go there. Well, that has just changed.
Meghan Markle's alleged yacht girl days. Now, a big piece in the esteemed British publication, The Spectator, written by a brilliant writer, Julie Burchill, well, it kind of goes into sort of a very, shall we say, light-hearted look.
But the fact that we now have a mainstream media figure, a very famous one, posing the question directly, I want to ask Meghan Markle about her yacht girl past. To me, it feels like quite a significant moment.
A lot of speculation in the papers about the fact that Meghan might have met Prince Andrew while a guest on Jeffrey Epstein's yacht.
And it has to be something that we continue to talk about, because there is something there that we need to find the missing pieces to, because I believe a lot of it was scrubbed off of the internet way before we even knew who Meghan Markle was.
Yesterday, we broke down what Tom Bower found inside Betrayal. Camila's 6 words, the brand audit that destroyed their business. Harry being told his own wife had killed his earning power.
He just behaved as the arrogant royal.
The Sussexes kind of ran out of road with the victimhood narrative.
Well, I think that's exactly why they're now desperate. I mean, there's no interest in them anymore.
Here's the thing that kept eating at me after we finished. The Sussexes have been attacked in print by Piers Morgan, Samantha Markle, Valentine Lowe, and Thomas Markle Sr. They ignored every single one of them. Tom Bower's first book, Revenge, called Meghan a manipulative social climber. They said nothing.
The lack of substance. There's a lack of substance when it comes to Meghan. And I think that describes her perfectly.
She silences him when she knows that he's about to speak utter rubbish. And she's embarrassed. That's the real problem.
Omid Scobie accidentally exposed senior royals in Endgame. They stayed quiet. But Betrayal, 12 days before one copy even reached a shelf, they panicked. Their team put out the most aggressive statement they have ever released. Called it deranged. Called it melodrama. And everyone, including me, thought the panic was about the brainwashing story or the charity collapse or the Invictus footage. That was a reasonable guess. It was also the wrong one.
Tom Bower, author of Betrayal, Power, Deceit, and the Fight for the Future of the Royal Family, a forensic examination of the many contradictions and controversies surrounding Prince Harry and Meghan Markle over the past 7 years.
Because here's what nobody noticed. When you read the Times excerpts from front to back, something is missing. The thing that actually terrified them is not in the book. Not yet. The excerpts covered Harry's isolation, Camila's warning, the charity disaster. But there is one specific topic that Bower's credibility makes truly dangerous for Meghan. And the book has not touched it. Not once. Hold that thought. Because 4 days after those excerpts hit the newsstands, someone at The Spectator decided to say out loud what everyone else was too afraid to print.
One of the things that Prince Harry says about Meghan Markle, and remember, this is a guy who didn't bother to check in with her father to learn anything about the wife that he was marrying, who was, according to her, the second time around, right?
Julie Burchill is not a good person. She was fired from the Daily Telegraph in 2021 for a racist tweet. She paid damages after an Islamophobic attack on a journalist. Most serious publications want nothing to do with her. But she writes for The Spectator, and that matters because The Spectator has been publishing since 1828. That is older than the Crimean War. It has editors. It has lawyers. Every word gets checked before it goes out. On March 17th, 2026, Burchell wrote a column mocking Meghan's upcoming luxury women's retreat in Sydney. Tickets cost nearly $3,000 Australian. The column was exactly what you would expect from her. Nasty, personal, crude.
Julie Burchell, who I think is one of the most fabulous and brave and unfiltered and hilarious columnists in all of the United Kingdom, bringing the Meghan Markle yacht girl questions, at least. I mean, she has been careful.
But right in the middle of all that mockery, she wrote one line that stopped me cold. She asked how many yachts Meghan was a guest on before she met her prince. Was it double figures, she wrote, or triple? Read that again. Double figures or triple. She did not ask if Meghan was on those yachts. She stated it as fact and only asked how many. And that line passed every editor, every lawyer, and got published in one of the oldest magazines in the English language. That is not a YouTube comment. That is not a Reddit thread. That is not a TikTok rumor. That is the Spectator in print.
But look, I want to take you through the Julie Burchell column because it's just so much fun anyway, P. Dinah, because obviously this Australian girls weekend is nothing more than a money-making sham. When I read that my role model in spreading jam to flour, speaking the truth to power, will be hosting a women-only weekend retreat in Sydney during her forthcoming Australia jaunt with tickets a steal, 2,699 Australian dollars. I already had my credit card in my hot little hand.
But right in the middle of all that mockery, she wrote one line that stopped me cold. She asked how many yachts Meghan was a guest on before she met her prince. Was it double figures, she wrote, or triple? Read that again. Double figures or triple. She did not ask if Meghan was on those yachts. She stated it as fact and only asked how many. And that line passed every editor, every lawyer, and got published in one of the oldest magazines in the English language. That is not a YouTube comment. That is not a Reddit thread. That is not a TikTok rumor. That is the Spectator in print.
Really interesting, isn't it? Sure, it's baby steps, but the fact that we now have a mainstream media figure, a very famous one, posing the question directly, I want to ask Meghan Markle about her yacht girl past. The key line there, and the line that really, really interested me, was not a question about whether she was a yacht girl, but just simply stating as a fact and then asking, was it double figures or triple in terms of how many yachts she was a guest on before she met Prince Harry?
For 7 years, these questions only existed in conspiracy forums and anonymous accounts. Mainstream British media acted like none of it was real until now. Burchell's column did not prove anything about Meghan's past, but it proved something just as important. It proved that the media is no longer willing to look the other way. That wall came down on March 17th, and it is not going back up.
The UK's oldest periodical, The Spectator. This is quite a surprising place for her to do it. It is part of this wider examination.
But before we go any further, I need to be very clear about something. This story has been badly polluted. Fake photos, made-up quotes, conspiracy content so reckless that entire YouTube channels got wiped out in January. So, I am drawing a hard line right now. Everything in this video is either verified on the public record or comes from a named source. If it does not meet that standard, it is not in here. I am not interested in fiction. I am interested in what can actually be proven. So let's get into it.
The Meghan Markle yacht girl claims simply will not go away. And I've spoken about this before, but until now, no one in the mainstream media has been brave enough to go there. Well, that has just changed.
Correspondent Katie Nicholl reported on Channel 4 that Harry asked Anderson to arrange a private meeting with Meghan at Soho House. Not a date, a carefully arranged private meeting. Now, Anderson was not the one who first connected them. Harry's own memoir confirms that Violet von Vesten Holtz introduced them through Instagram in July 2016. But Anderson handled everything after that. The logistics, the early dates, the introductions. He was the engine behind the whole thing.
Once a Soho House basic, always a Soho House basic.
And here is where it starts to get uncomfortable. Tom Bauer wrote in Revenge that Meghan attended Brett Ratner's Hollywood parties several times a week for years. Her own childhood friend, Niniki Pretty, told Bauer directly that Meghan was a calculating social climber who had her eyes set on landing a prince since high school.
This guy has been around all of the time. Isn't that suspicious to you? Because it is for me. It is something strange.
That is not me talking. That is someone who grew up with her, someone who knew her before any of this fame ever started. Now, here is where things get really uncomfortable. The man who owned roughly 60% of Soho House at the time was Ron Burkle, American billionaire. His name is in Jeffrey Epstein's personal address book. His name is on Epstein's private jet flight logs. And when the U.S. Department of Justice unsealed the second batch of Epstein court documents in January 2024, Burkle's name surfaced again. Not in a criminal capacity, but deep enough in those documents to make international headlines.
4-year-old tape of a Meghan who is about to marry a prince.
A guy sent me a tape of this model/actress 4 years ago, and she is tossing his salad, and
Nice.
it's,
Yes.
oral sex.
Yes, eat the scrum.
And
Yes.
I said, great, how do you know this guy? Well, he's a photographer, he's based in Florida, I was doing some stuff with him. Okay. I said, who is the person we're talking about here? Before I call my lawyer and get anybody involved in this, you have to tell me. So then she says, her name is Meghan, and she's about to marry a prince.
Straight with you. Nobody has produced any evidence that Burkle had a direct relationship with Meghan. That claim does not exist in any credible reporting, and I am not making it. But think about what we do know. The man who built the entire social world that delivered Meghan into Harry's life has documented, verified public connections to Jeffrey Epstein. That is not a conspiracy theory. That is on the court record. And that is exactly the thread that people like Burchell are now pulling in a 200-year-old magazine in print.
This gentleman right here, that's Nick Jones, the original founder of Soho House. Guess where he's going there? He's arriving at Meghan Markle and Harry's wedding as guest of honor. Oh yeah, Soho was present there.
Now in February 2026, days after Prince Andrew's arrest, a photo exploded across every single platform. 7 women on a boat, Mediterranean sun, big smiles, and 2 red arrows drawn over the image. One pointing to Meghan Markle, the other pointing to a woman labeled Karina Shuliak. Jeffrey Epstein's last known girlfriend, the woman who was with him from 2009 until the day he died. Russian state television posted it with the caption, Epstein's girlfriend with Merle. It went absolutely nuclear. Millions of people saw it within hours. Facebook, Reddit, X everywhere.
And we also have this. Now look at the below one. This is Karina Shuliak, Epstein's girlfriend. Challenge, find her on the yacht photo. It has always been in plain sight. We have, you know that people are, this theory of the 6 degrees of separation. That we are separated from every other person in this planet by only 6 degrees. Okay, so if Meghan Markle has hang out with Karina, then she was separated from Jeffrey Epstein just by 1 degree. That will be 1 degree, right? Or 2 degrees. That will be 2 degrees.
But here is the problem. Snopes investigated, and what they found was this. The photo is completely real. Meghan is in it. The image has not been manipulated in any way. But the woman those arrows were pointing to, that is not Karina Shuliak. The woman those arrows were pointing to is actually Flavia Serinon, an Italian lifestyle blogger. She runs a page called The Chic Picnic. The original photo was uploaded on August 10th, 2016, by photographer Carlo Duca, who tagged Serenian by name. Karina Shuliak was never on that boat. The identification was completely wrong. But here's what I need you to understand. Do not let that one mistake make you dismiss everything else, because the debunk actually makes the real questions harder to ignore, not easier. The photo is real. It has not been touched. And Meghan is in it. She's on a yacht in the Mediterranean off the coast of Formanra in the Balearic Islands, Spain.
And I know what you're going to say. Maybe it was just that one trip. No, there were quite a few trips. There's actually quite a lot of pictures about them. There are 2 pictures that leaked.
August 2016, just weeks before she officially started dating Harry. The other women in that photo include Misha Noah and Heather Dorick, confirmed by their own social media tags. And Misha Noah is not just some random friend. She designed the shirt Meghan wore for her very first public appearance with Harry. She was at the center of every single early introduction. So the fake Shuliak connection fell apart. Fine. Good. That is how truth is supposed to work. But the yacht is real. The network is real. The timing is real. The people are real. And none of that has been challenged. None of it has been answered.
And I wonder if Prince Andrew's going to come out and say, hey, Harry, I did your wife quite a few times on yachts before you got her.
What?
Now remember the name Burkle because in December 2021, something happened that the mainstream media covered for exactly one news cycle and then quietly buried. David Boy, chairman of Boy Schiller Flexner, one of the most powerful and feared litigation firms in America, sat down with the Daily Beast. He was representing Virginia Giuffre in her civil lawsuit against Prince Andrew. And during that interview, he told journalist Tom Sykes that his legal team was seriously considering deposing Meghan Markle, not as a defendant, as a witness. And his reasons, these are his exact words, published December 21st, 2021, were very specific.
As for the highlight of the weekend will be an in-person conversation with Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, I don't think it'll be what we generally consider a conversation, characterised by the exchange of views and information. No one will get to ask anything interesting, like how many yachts was she a guest on before she met her prince?
1. She is in the US, so we have jurisdiction over her. 2. She was obviously, at least for a period of time, a close associate of Prince Andrew, and is therefore in a position to have seen what he did, or, at minimum, to have heard people talk about it. 3. She is somebody we can count on to tell the truth. Boy only had 10 to 12 depositions to work with total. That is it. He was not going to waste a single one on someone who did not matter. He was considering Meghan because he believed she had direct proximity and real knowledge relevant to Andrew's conduct.
And I will repeat once again that David Boyes, the former lawyer for the late Virginia Giuffre, wanted Meghan Markle to give a deposition on behalf of Virginia Giuffre to give evidence in court about what she knew in regards to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's behaviour. There is clearly public interest around this.
And think about this. He explicitly ruled out deposing Queen Elizabeth. He said he would not do it out of respect for her age and her position. Meghan received no such courtesy, no such exemption, none. Let that land for a second. One of the most powerful lawyers in American history, a man who has taken on the U.S. government, Hollywood studios, and Fortune 500 companies in one. That man looked at the Duchess of Sussex and said she qualifies as a potential witness in an Epstein-connected sexual assault case. Not because of gossip, not because of YouTube videos, because of her documented proximity to Prince Andrew and the elite social circles surrounding him. That is not a conspiracy theory. That is a senior attorney doing his job on national television.
What is she doing on the yacht? Why did David Boyes want to question her? Why is she with Karina Shuliak? Why are there people in Meghan's social circle, that are in the same social circle as Andrew?
And then the timeline gets even more interesting. On January 12th, 2022, Judge Lewis Kaplan denied Andrew's motion to dismiss. The case was moving toward discovery. Depositions were coming. 5 weeks later, on February 15th, 2022, Andrew settled. Reportedly for $12 million, the case died before Meghan was ever called.
She was coming to New York all the time. She was in New York when Andrew was in New York for an entire month in September 2013.
And then in April 2025, Virginia Giuffre took her own life at her farm near Cab, Western Australia. She was 41 years old. Her family said the toll of the abuse had simply become unbearable. A posthumous memoir, Nobody's Girl, was published 6 months later. But here is what you need to understand about Boyes. He did not make that statement in a vacuum. He knew about the Soho House network. He knew about Burkle's documented Epstein connections. He knew exactly how Meghan's world and Andrew's world connected through the same overlapping elite circles. He laid it all out publicly in print in the Daily Beast, and Meghan has never, not once, said a single word about.
I want to ask Meghan Markle about her yacht girl past. To me, it feels like quite a significant moment because, of course, there is so much about Meghan Markle's time on those yachts that we do not know. And I will repeat once again that David Boyes, the former lawyer for the late Virginia Giuffre, wanted Meghan Markle to give a deposition on behalf of Virginia Giuffre.
Here's the pattern that nobody talks about. Not the allegations themselves, the silence around them. Because the Sussexes absolutely know how to deny things when they want to. When Bauer published Revenge, their allies quietly pushed back through friendly outlets. When Scobie's Endgame leaked those royal names, they issued careful non-responses. They have lawyers. They have an entire PR machine. They know exactly how to issue a sharp, specific, targeted denial when something actually needs denying. They called betrayal a deranged conspiracy. They accused Bauer of building elaborate theories about people he has never even met. They fired statements at Newsweek and GBN News at the same time.
This is Rachel Meghan Markle in 2006 at a Hamptons party where Harvey Weinstein was there. But of course, nobody was mentioning Meghan Markle because she was a nobody.
PR expert Renee Smith, founder of the Atticism Agency, told The Express that their response made them look deeply bothered and that Bauer had clearly hit a nerve. But look closely at what that statement actually does. It attacks the author. It attacks his methods. It attacks his motives. And it never once, not in a single sentence, specifically denies the yacht allegations. Not one word about yachts. Not one word about Soho House. Not one word about Burkle. Not one word about boys. Not one word about the social network from her years before Harry. I have read every major public statement the Sussexes have released since 2020. There is not a single direct denial of the yacht claims anywhere. Not from Meghan, not from Harry, not from Sunshine Sachs, not from Schillings, not from any spokesperson in any outlet at any time. They denied the brainwashing story. They denied bullying their staff. They denied fabricating the Oprah claims. But the yacht questions, the exact questions Burchell printed in The Spectator, the ones boys raised in the Daily Beast, the ones independent researchers have been documenting for 8 straight years, nothing. No comment, no denial, no legal threat, just total silence. And when you attack every single person writing about a story, but never actually deny the story itself, that is not a PR strategy. That is a confession.
And I think your viewers will be interested in this, is when Meghan, before she gets married, meets a very, very famous, important member of the British establishment. And that person is brought in every 3 to 4 weeks to Kensington Palace to tell Meghan about what her duties will be and how her life will follow her marriage to Harry, a part of the royal family.
So here is exactly where things stand right now. Andrew was arrested on February 19th. 3 weeks before that, the Department of Justice had dropped over 3 million pages of Epstein files. Within 72 hours of Andrew's arrest, the yacht allegations exploded out of independent media and landed on every mainstream platform. Burchell printed her questions in The Spectator on March 17th. Dan Wooten broadcast fresh claims on his Substack the very next day to hundreds of thousands of viewers.
But what we've seen recently is the wokest of the woke turn on Harry and Meghan. It's their own kind turning on them.
And Bauer's betrayal gave this entire story a level of mainstream credibility it has never had before. Even though the book itself focuses on the post-Mexit years. That is why the Sussex response was so explosive. Not because of the brainwashing claims, not because of the charity disaster, because a book serialized in the Times of London, published by a major house, reviewed in every major British outlet, had just kicked the door wide open. It made Meghan's past completely fair game for publications that had refused to touch it for years. Newsweek's chief royal correspondent, Jack Royston, warned them directly. He said they had triggered the Striand effect by attacking the book so loudly and so publicly. They had guaranteed that millions more people would go looking for it. And he was right.
An event with 300 women present will not be a fireside chat. Julie Burchell recalls, on my 50th birthday many moons ago, I thought it would be fun to invite 50 close female friends on a steaming July day to a daytime celebration at a gorgeous Brighton beach bar. Mostly media girls down from London with a smattering of local sex workers, and within a few hours it was mayhem. There was one catfight, a serious slugfest, which an actual bouncer had to break up, 2 alfresco lesbian hookups, which brought complaints from passing parents.
By March 15th, Betrayal had hit #1 on Amazon before a single copy had even shipped. Think about that. The Sussex's own reaction made the book a bestseller. And here is what they do not seem to understand. Once that door opens in mainstream British media, with legal teams behind it, with editorial review behind it, with institutional backing behind it, it does not close ever. Now, I want to be straight with you before we finish. Everything I have shown you today comes from the same public record available to everyone. The verified facts, the named sources, the court filings. I was not in those rooms. None of us were. But when a columnist at one of Britain's oldest magazines prints the yacht question in black and white,
You're doing the Lord's work, Tom Bauer, having to count the word Todger in the book Spare. I mean, what must have Meghan thought? Actually, you talk about that. You say she's exhausted by the book in the end, and she just wants to focus on her own pursuits. But I would be embarrassed as the wife to have that. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel goes after him over this, and I would be humiliated over him fixating on this in his big book.
Well, it just shows you what a child he is, a schoolboy, not realizing the damage he was inflicting on himself, the humiliation, the parody.
Constantly surprised and constantly finding out new things and adventures that his wife did, whether it be traveling to another country, learning a new language, etc. And sometimes he says some of the things he's never heard of before. He didn't know she'd done it.
when one of America's most powerful lawyers names Meghan as a potential witness in an Epstein-connected case. When the woman who ran their own brand audit tells Harry his wife has made him commercially worthless. And when the response to every single one of those things is to attack the messenger and never once deny the actual message. At some point, the silence stops being a strategy. It becomes the story itself. And the yacht questions are only the beginning of what is coming apart. Because there are 6 specific people across 8 years, across 3 continents. All of them tried to put this story on the record. None of them knew each other. All of them faced serious consequences for trying. And the pattern connecting what happened to each one of them is not a coincidence. That is a system, and we're breaking that system down next. If this video opened your eyes to something the mainstream media has been sitting on for years, hit that like button right now. It takes 1 second, and it helps more people find this before the story gets buried again. Subscribe if you are not already, because what is coming next is the part they really do not want you to.